Mourner from Robert Trump's funeral punches restaurant worker in the face and breaks his nose after the server said their party was too big to accommodate due to COVID-19. The unidentified person allegedly assaulted a server at Fig and Olive restaurant in Washington, D.C. Friday night, according to reports from the restaurant worker told the outlet the Mourner clocked the server right in the nose after he told the unruly party there was no space for the group to dine. The victim has been left with a suspected broken nose. They said some of the people in the group were allegedly still carrying funeral programs from the White House service, the workers said. NBC News White House correspondent Jeff Bennett tweeted late Friday he had received a tip about the alleged bust-up involving the Trump funeral party. Donald Trump held a funeral service at the White House for his younger brother just hours earlier after Robert died aged 71 last Saturday. By Rachel Sharp for DailyMail.com. Published 6:07 BST, the 22nd of August 2020. Updated 8:33 BST, the 22nd of August 2020. A mourner from Robert Trump's funeral has allegedly punched a restaurant worker in the face, telling them you don't know how to speak to people because the server told them they couldn't fit their large party in the restaurant due to COVID-19 rules. The unidentified attacker assaulted a server at Fig and Olive restaurant in Washington, D.C. Friday night, leaving him with a suspected broken nose, just hours after Donald Trump held a funeral service at the White House for his younger brother, according to reports from NBC. A restaurant worker told the outlet the Mourner clocked the server right in the nose after he told the unruly party there was no space for the group to dine. Some of the people in the group were allegedly still carrying funeral programs from the White House service, the sources said. A mourner from Robert Trump's funeral has allegedly punched a restaurant worker in the face, telling them you don't know how to speak to people because the server told them they couldn't fit their large party in the restaurant due to COVID-19 rules. Picture Donald Trump at the White House service Friday. The unidentified attacker assaulted a server at Fig and Olive restaurant in Washington, D.C., pictured Friday night, leaving him with a suspected broken nose, according to NBC News White House correspondent Jeff Bennett tweeted late Friday night that he had received a tip about an alleged bust-up involving the Trump funeral party at the D.C. branch of Fig and Olive restaurant. A source said someone who was in town for Robert Trump's White House funeral punched the server at the restaurant. Bennett tweeted that a restaurant worker confirmed the altercation, which allegedly happened when the restaurant couldn't accommodate the large group. I'm told some in the group were still carrying funeral programs. The unruly group lashed out when the restaurant couldn't accommodate their large party, he tweeted. Somebody blindsided one of my servers. Clocked him right in the nose, a restaurant worker told NBC. My server's nose is crooked. Pretty sure the guy broke it. The attacker, who the employee did not identify, went on to accost the victim for not speaking to them in the right way. The employee said they didn't apologize. Just said, you don't know how to speak to people, they said. NBC News White House correspondent Jeff Bennett tweeted late Friday night that he had received a tip about an alleged bust-up involving the Trump funeral party at the D.C. branch of Fig and Olive restaurant. It's a pandemic, doing the best we can. Totally uncalled for. The worker told NBC they believe the server's nose is broken. Security at City Center, D.C., the development housing the restaurant, and police were said to be handling the matter, but the restaurant staff said neither did anything. It is not clear who the attacker is, but the employee told NBC no high-profile Trump was involved. Neither Fig and Olive or the Metropolitan Police Department immediately returned DailyMail.com's request for comment. A security person at the City Center D.C. development refused to comment on the situation because they said they were not there at the time. The bust-up allegedly came after Trump held a private funeral service at the White House for Robert, who died last week, one day after the president flew to New York to be by his bedside. Trump and Melania Trump cut somber figures as they watched pallbearers carrying Robert's casket out of the north portico of the White House and down the steps to a waiting hearse late Friday afternoon. Members of the Trump family embrace following the funeral of Robert Trump at the White House. Trump and Melania watched the casket of his brother Robert be placed in a hearse and driven away from the White House. Trump and Melania Trump cut somber figures as they watched pallbearers carrying Robert's casket out of the north portico of the White House and down the steps to a waiting hearse late Friday afternoon. Robert's widow Anne-Marie Palan Trump, 55, who he wed back in March, looked on tearfully and was joined by Donald and Robert's sister Elizabeth Trump Grau, 78, and her husband James Grau, 84, a former film producer and one-time events executive at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach. Elizabeth choked back tears while bagpipes played Lord Lovett's Lament in the background, a tribute to the family's roots as their late mother Mary Ann MacLeod came from Scotland. They were joined by the president's children, who were all pictured on the steps of the White House to pay their respects to their uncle. Barron Trump towered over his siblings Donald Trump Jr. and girlfriend Kimberly Guilfoyle, Ivanka Trump and husband Jared Kushner, Eric Trump and wife Lara and Tiffany Trump. Also present were Robert's stepchildren Jenna Nixon, 31, and T.J. Palan, 25, and their respective partners Flynn Nixon and Laura Taylor. Jenna and T.J. were seen comforting their distraught mother and Robert's widow Anne-Marie at the bottom of the steps. David William Desmond, 59, Robert's oldest nephew and the only child of Mary Ann Trump Barry, from her first marriage to David Desmond, was also pictured on the steps. The two brothers pictured together in 1999. Robert died Saturday aged 71 after suffering brain bleeds from a recent fall. Several mourners embraced and comforted each other as the black casket was placed inside the hearse and driven away. Around 200 people were invited to the private ceremony, which was reportedly personally paid for by the president, but only a few dozen were seen on the steps. This is the first time a deceased person was held at the U.S. seat of government since President John F. Kennedy's late estate and his funeral procession started from there following his assassination back in 1963. The service made Trump's brother one of only a handful of private citizens to have had their funeral service in the White House in its entire history. Robert died in hospital Saturday at the age of 71 after suffering brain bleeds from a recent fall. Let's block ads. Why?
Show your love for him. Click the link in description. Thanks for watching.